Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Strat Fan Forum Football Show. Today is a quick summer sprint regular season wrap-up, as well as a look at the playoffs with the four remaining teams. We can talk a little bit about the first round games, but this is our first chance to do a show since those games were played. And there's actually going to be a semifinal game right after this podcast. So this will be, Tom's going to lead us through this and get us ready for the playoff game. Tom, take it away.
Hey there, Dennis. How's it going? Hello, everybody. So we only got about 40 minutes at most to go through this thing here. Dennis is going to be playing Joe Golden in the semifinal, in one of the two semifinals. But basically, it's been a very interesting year in summer sprint this year, Battle Royale, 1983 NFL season. We didn't let me see. I am screen sharing. You're not locked on yourself, are you? It looks like you're locked on yourself.
I'm going to lock it on you since you're going to be showing the stats.
Okay.
To everyone, and it should be you showing now.
There we go. Okay. 1 second, Dennis.
Sure.
So we had 15 teams, a 14-game season. Now, normally we would have liked to do a show sort of mid-season after the first block. Didn't work out. I think it was right around the 4th of July holiday, and you released the second block of pre-games early. So like some guys had like 9 or 10 games played, other guys had 3 or 4 games played. And I think all the new draft football stuff was coming out for the new season, so we didn't get to really do a mid-season show. But we're doing one now. And if you look at the season, Paul, you had 3 teams finished 10-4, and 3 teams finished 8-6. A bunch of teams finished 7-7. 3 teams 10-4, all of course made the playoffs. That's Paul with the Escondido Chargers. That's Jersey Joe Golden with the Jersey Rebels, and Dennis, of course, with the Seattle Shuriken, 10-4. Then the 3 8-6 teams were Lawrence's Antioch Coal Miners, David Pachter's San Francisco 49ers, and my Berlin Wallbreakers. Okay. Then, of course, let's see, with the tiebreakers, Escondido and Jersey got the byes. Escondido got the 1 seed. Jersey got the 2 seed. Dennis, despite being 10-4, had to play a first-round game. Now we play Choose Your Opponent, and Dennis chose me, which, of course, made me very confident I was going to win the game. Dennis won that game 14-3, a very defensive game. My offense really couldn't do much. I had a punt return fumble, but the guy has a fumble on 4, so I was kind of okay with that. Yeah, we had 4 touchdowns during the season. It was a touchdown on 3. Then you had a 4th and goal. The 2, I couldn't stop you. I never really threatened too much outside of getting a field goal somewhere in the first half. So it was pretty much your defense dominated the game. My offense not getting much done. 14-3. Congratulations to you. You had the number 1 defense in the league by far. 216 points allowed compared to 248. I don't have the differentials, but I do have the per games. You give up 15.4 points a game. Now, interesting, the median this year was about 20, just a touch over 20 points a game allowed would be the average, which is where my defense was. You give up 15.4.
And how does that compare with the MIFA or the regular fall leagues? It's much lower, right?
It's funny. Whether you're talking about NFL or Strat, the average, like points and yards, are not as far different as you would think, considering that we're in such a high-scoring era right now. But I think in SSFA, it was maybe it was a lot more. Maybe it was as high as 24. Maybe not. Maybe it was only like 22.5 or 23. I don't recall exactly. I would have had to have that handy.
Yeah, I just thought maybe
but I could actually, since I based all this. Can't open 2 things with the same name. So I didn't. I would have had to change this one to 1983 final stat. Otherwise, I could have checked it immediately. Then I was going to look like a really prepared genius there. But oh well, maybe some other time. But anyway, you had the number 1 defense in the league. Very impressive there, and came through with a very strong performance in the playoff game. Now, I think David Pachter defeated Lawrence Green in the other first-round game. Is that correct?
Yes, it was a good game. I actually called some of that game from like the end of the first half until 2 minutes to go when I was driving my kids home from karate, and I had the game open and using my phone as a hotspot. And then I just lost signal, so I just shut it down. But David was able to hold on. It was crazy because that game, Lawrence had gone in front. David was driving. He was about to take the lead or tie it up. He's only down a field goal. He fumbled the ball at like the 4-yard line or 10-yard line. Lawrence recovered. Lawrence's first play right after that is a bomb that's intercepted. David takes it back. 2 or 3 plays later, actually the very next play after he gets the ball, he goes deep and connects and takes the lead by 4. So it's 24-20 with 2 minutes left, and that was the end of the game. Lawrence couldn't drive down and get a touchdown of his own. But it was really cool. It was a nice, fun finish on that one.
Yeah, we see with a 24-20 victory for David Patrick's 49ers over Lawrence's Antioch Coal Miners. 2 bombs from Joe Montana to Benny Cunningham, the 31 and 34-yarder. The 30-40-yarder is the one you just alluded to right after the interception. That was 3:54 to go as David was losing 20-10 in to start the fourth quarter, and had 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to pull out the victory 24-20. Very interesting. Look at this. San Francisco got 383 yards offense to only 240 for Antioch. Then Antioch had the big lead and maybe sat on it a little bit. There was 2 turnovers for the Coal Miners. There was 3 for the Niners. Like you said, that was a heck of a game. Joe Montana, 14 of 32, 07, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Billy Sims, 20 carries, 140 yards. And that San Francisco team, I wasn't really a fan, of really any of the teams that finished 8-6. I really, including my own. I'd have to look over the squads, but I probably would pick you or Joe as probably the 2 best teams remaining. I'm not in love with Paul's squad, but he plays it real well, and Paul's a real good coach. And I got to look at, but David, he does have that Joe Montana Billy Sims combo. And anytime you're facing that top flight quarterback running back combo, things can be tough. You can have a tough game against a team like that.
That's been one of my favorite things about this league is like seeing those old names. Billy Sims, and I get to see my old Seahawks, Dave Craig. I think I'm going to be facing Dave Craig today as Joe's quarterback, and guys like Dave Butts, who I remember from my very, very brief head-to-head cards and dice career in the 80s. We played about a dozen games, and that was my friend's team. He always picked the Redskins, and I had to hear him talk about how great Dave Butts was because he was like a 5'8" nose tackle. So, yeah, every time he made a play, he's like, Butts is on the field. So my question is, why did you guys only play 12 games? Strat was such a great game. What happened? I think they lost interest a little bit, and I, got married and moved away and all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. That's you're a few years older than I am, so maybe you were already like college aged. Okay.
Yeah, it was the late 80s. Actually, I don't think I got married then. I went to college or moved away a little bit.
Yeah, but you were already around 18. It wasn't like you were a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, no, but it was fun. Even with those guys. I mean, just from the brief exposure I had, I knew it was a cool game, and I didn't get back to it until 15 years later. That happens sometimes.
Sure. If we look at what wins and what loses, points scored, points against. I'm looking at these stats the first time and just put these rankings together before we do the show. First of all, top in the league in points scored was 26.3 points a game. The middle of the league was about 21.6. But Antioch, Berlin, Escondido, Seattle, the top 5 teams in points scored per game all made the playoffs out of 6 teams. Okay. Including my Berlin team was second somehow, 25.1 points a game with no pass blocking.
But your team's pretty explosive. It has some explosive cards on it.
Exactly.
That's
what it was.
I thought that you had a chance to to be one of the better teams in the league, but that pass blocking just did you in. That pass and run blocking. I mean, all those defense.
The blocking.
Yeah,
blocking is important in football. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Yes, I am.
Also tackling, I hear is important, but yeah, but I don't know the team. Like I said, like I used my excuse after, the other day after you beat me. The team. I didn't get to finish my prep for the draft. We only had 8 or 9 days to prepare for the draft, and I didn't get to finish all my spreadsheets on my first 2 rounds, which are pretty pivotal picks, I would say. were not made based upon spreadsheet numbers. And then once round 3 came around, then my spreadsheets were ready. I was like, okay, well, those were not the picks I would have made. So the team was flawed from that standpoint, but I was happy with how they did. I was 8-4, then I kind of, had a brain fart about the bye. Although I think I would have lost one of those games anyway. My team was kind of lucky to have that 7-1 run in the middle of the season. But yeah, it was an interesting team, interesting game. Not a great team, so I'm kind of okay with how they did. At least they made the playoffs. They made the playoffs every time, and they made one Super Bowl in the three battle royales they've been in. So I'm okay with that for now. Mm-hmm. But who's the other team that made the playoffs? Oh, David Pachter was in the middle of the league, only in offense, number 8, even though he has the Joe Montana Billy Sims combo. But top 5 scoring offenses made it to the playoffs, and only 6 teams out of 15 made it. So making the playoffs is pretty good. Now, in terms of points allowed, number 1 team, that's your team, made the playoffs. Number 2 team, is that excellent? SoCo did not make the playoffs, finished 7-7. Number 3 team, Jersey Joe, 10-4 to bye. Number 4 team, Boulder, at 18 points a game allowed, did not make the playoffs. Number 5 team, San Francisco. So really, of the top 6 scoring defenses, 3 made the playoffs, 3 didn't. But of the top 5 scoring offenses, every one made the playoffs. So what does that mean? I don't know what it means, but that's just what happened this year. And Escondido, number 12 in the league in points allowed, made the playoffs. Number 12 in the league in points allowed got the number 1 seed.
Yeah, but if you look at that team, that team gave me fits. I think he spanked me in the regular season. That offense is crazy.
It's a very interesting team because he run with Dickerson and George Rogers and goes deep with Lynn Dickey, or will throw some short passes with Lynn Dickey. And Paul's an excellent coach, and he's going to play the game and stuff like that. And he was only plus 19, plus 13 in point differential, yet he goes 10-4. I think he had some blowouts in there. He lost the game 44-0. That'll hurt the old point differential. Well, he lost 44-0. He lost 31-13. And he had most of his victories, and he had a couple of victories by double digits, but he didn't have any 35-point victories. And it's weird. It's like he kept winning by between 7 and 13 points. So he had solid victories. It wasn't like he was squeaking by and beating everybody by a field goal or something like that. So we will interested to see how that team is going to do. And it's interesting, when I was playing somebody late in the season, and it was somebody whose team had not done very well, and the guy was saying, well, I guess that defense doesn't win in this league, or blah, 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 because I think he had good defensive cards. And I've heard guys say this, so I guess I should go offense next time because I'm only 4-4 or whatever. I don't think you can really think of it that way. I don't think you can think, I need to go defense or I need to go offense. I think you need to make the best picks that are available and then coach whatever team you end up with. Absolutely. If you want to go defense heavy, but there's a real good quarterback card and you pass on it, I would say don't pass on the quarterback card. Take the real good quarterback card. So your defense won't be quite as good, but take the best, most impactful card you think there are. And don't try and it's like they say with a good NFL coach, right? Don't get rid of guys who don't fit your defense, your defensive or offensive scheme. Tailor your scheme to the players you have.
Yeah, and
most coaches don't do that in the NFL, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, what I found is that the most important thing in this type of format is to try to get a unit that is much better than the units or the unit right below it. So if you can get a unit that can distinguish itself as the best tight end unit or the best quarterback unit or the best return unit, you have to take advantage of those because that's what makes the difference. It's that value-based drafting that you see in fantasy football sometimes. Try to get something that is giving you good value at that spot, no matter what position it is, if it's different than what you would wind up with if you didn't pick that position until later.
I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Now you can't, there's only 10 or 11 units in this, 15 guys drafting, so you're not going to get the best in a lot of categories. But like you said, identifying, I think what you really mean, I just what you said there makes sense, but I think probably deeper into what you mean is to really be aware of the drop-offs. If there's really only 5 really good running backs, and you got a chance to grab that 5th running back, you grab him because otherwise, bang, otherwise you go from strong running back to average or from average to weak.
Exactly. Set
So
up
like
your
you said, value-based drafting,
yeah, set up your tiers and make sure you get somebody in the top tier if possible, if not the next tier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to waste a pick on a
If you can go,
mid-level quarterback.
if you can come out of a
Yeah,
draft not having the worst unit at any unit, you're in good shape. You don't have to get the best unit at every position, but if you can go out of the draft having, the top guy at one position and not having the worst unit at any other position, you're in good shape.
sure. And then also if some guys might say, well, I don't think this works, or I don't think that works. I mean, there's also, a coaching factor, of course.
Yeah.
I think most of the guys in this league are good coaches, but there are a couple of coaches who make the playoffs and compete for the championship almost every time. So those guys are doing a good job. And if your team never makes the playoffs, you got to, I think, look at maybe your drafting, but you definitely got to look at your coaching and see what's going on differently if you never make the playoffs in these leagues. But really, we came down the stretch this year, and it was real interesting. Rick Byron's was like 7-5, and Rick's a real good coach. I think we all thought he'd get at least one of those last two games to make the playoffs, and he didn't. Jim, I think, had started off decently, didn't he?
Yeah.
But finished off 7. I think he might have started out like 4-2 or something, and he had the excellent, and had the number 2 scoring defense in the league, but he missed the playoffs. Butch was floating around there, missed it. So it was really a strange type of season there coming down to the end. I think David had to win his final 2, including beating me to make the playoffs, and now he's in the semifinals. Lawrence may have gotten in a little more easily. I don't recall. But
Lawrence had the same kind of thing. He was like 7-4, 7-5, and he lost a couple games. He wound up being 7-6, and he needed to win that last game to get in, and he did it. But it was close. It looked like a shoo-in at one point, and then he barely got in.
And I think that one of the things we all like a lot about the Battle Royale format and the Battle Royale leagues is that there is so much competition in terms of the teams all being close, and the personnel is close, and everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses because these are not superstar teams because of the way we draft. You can't even say, well, it's 15 teams out of 28 in this set. So are the teams twice as good? I'm not sure I'm not sure exactly how to gauge it.
No, because
I feel like
I was going to say, even though you're taking 15 teams out of 28, you're taking units. So you're taking the flaws with that unit. Not every unit is perfect. So even we're only drafting 15 teams. It's not like we're drafting the 52 best players times the 15 teams. There's some duds that are in our starting lineups.
Yeah, that's right. If it was a straight draft, 15 out of 28, the teams would probably be stronger. You wouldn't have any zeros running around, basically, and stuff like that, which you saw with a lot of teams. If we were drafting 15 out of 28, I would have got a much stronger offensive line, and I obviously had the worst offensive line in the league. So whoever has the worst at that position, it would have been stronger in a straight 15-team draft. It's an excellent format.
Another small thing that makes sure that they're not super teams is that rule where you can't switch guys from side to side. So guys could get like a unit that had a kick returner that had a 5-rated left cornerback and play him at right cornerback. You can't do that either.
Sure. Yeah. So so the teams, there's a lot of different styles. You end up with a lot of different styles. You end up with different holes on different teams. So I find I love, like you said, one of the things I love about these Battle Royale leagues, you see every player. I played against, Joe Theismann and Dan Marino and Jack Thompson, and Tommy Kramer. I played against every quarterback in the set that was a good quarterback. I played against George Rogers and Eric Dickerson and William Andrews and Earl Campbell. I played against every running back that was a great running back. So it's fun to see like pretty much every good player from a season, which you don't always see in a larger draft league or with stock teams if it's like a full season replay, because you're not going to play every single team. If you're playing in the 70s, maybe you don't play Buffalo, so you don't see O.J. Simpson. So even though these guys aren't on your team, it's kind of fun to play against them anyway. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. That's great point.
Yeah, when you get that defender extra incomplete and it's Mike Haynes that makes a great play, it's like, oh, cool, Mike Haynes, he's a Hall of Famer, or whatever. Like for me, I had a lot of fun. Leroy Selman had like 16 sacks for me, and just he kept seemed to keep coming up with clutch sacks. And I was like, "Oh, cool, Leroy Selman, Hall of Famer, great, that's awesome, So
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun, and like you said, in the retro league, you get the names, so it's good to go retro with some of these battle royale projects, which I guess is your plan for the summer leagues, is to be retro, right?
Yes, the retro in the summer and the modern one in the spring.
Yeah. So what time is your kickoff with Jersey Joe?
4:15, so we have half an hour.
Okay, which we won't even need. We actually have 27 minutes now, but even so, we won't even need the half an hour. And I should probably take about 10 minutes before the kickoff, so maybe 20 minutes. All right, so moving on to the second round. Let's look at some league leaders real quick, but now we better stick with the games. So we've got Seattle Shuriken at the Jersey Rebels, and Joe's home field advantage for this game is what again?
There's the home field advantage is just the there is no home field advantage.
Exactly. There we go. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You got a buy already. What do you want?
Right.
The buy is out.
Yeah, you get the buy, and
I heard the buy is important. So if you're 8-4, you should focus on getting the buy. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm telling you.
I should have thought of that.
Just like I outlined in the email I sent out to the league.
Yeah. Well, the font.
Yeah,
well, I think the font was small, so I was like, "What is this email? I'm in the playoffs. I don't have to read this."
Yes, forget about this. This is really peon.
So gentlemen, what happened was I was 8-4, and I knew 8 wins got into the playoffs. And because in this league, I know the home field advantage is basically choose your own opponent. I don't really care if you choose my opponent. I just kind of said, all right, it doesn't matter. I'm 8-4 in the playoffs. It doesn't matter what happens the last 2 games. So I still played to win. I always played to win, but I didn't really go after it the way that I normally would. And I lost both games. After I lost the first one, Dennis was like, well, don't you know that you could have had a bye? If you had gone 10-4, you would have been the number 1 seed by the tiebreaker. And I was like, oh. And then I would be playing tonight instead of losing 14-3 in humiliating fashion to the Seattle Shuriken. But anyway, enough about my team. So the Seattle Shuriken, you're always up there in point differential. You had a plus 120 point differential, which looks like it was the best in the league. Although it also looks like Jersey and Antioch and Berlin, really all the playoff teams, which is not surprising, had a healthy point differential. Everyone's about plus 40 or more, it looks like, except for Paul. And plus 40 or more is pretty good for how competitive this season was.
Right.
And boy, you look at even the 500 teams and the losing teams; they had pretty bad point differentials. Including a couple of teams down around negative 100, which is not where you want to be. This just in. But so healthy point differential. But you were number 1 in that category at plus 108. And let's look at the.
Despite that healthy point category, it's interesting. If Antioch would have been able to win their game, the three teams that were going to be left in the semifinals were all teams I lost to. So I lost to Jersey, I lost to Escondido, and I lost to Antioch. So I did beat San Francisco, but
now you only have 2.
Yeah, now I only have 2.
There could only be 1.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. So Seattle at Jersey. Seattle number 4 scoring offense in the league at 24 points a game. And New Jersey was the number 3. All right, no, I'm sorry. Seattle number 4 offense, number 1 defense in points allowed. Okay, only like 15.4 points a game. You exceeded that against my team in the opening round. And Jersey Joe right behind you at points scored, number 5 at 23.6 to your 24. And points allowed, Jersey also doing well, 17.7. So 2 teams that were like top 5 in both scoring and in allowing points, so that should be a tough matchup. And let's take a look at some of the other stats, and then we'll look at the personnel because we only got 2 games to go through, really. Team offense, Jersey was number 1. Oh, I need you to do the turnovers. So why don't you bring up the Jersey team stats when you can? Yeah. While I talk about their league rankings, Jersey had the number 1 offense in the league, averaging 361 yards a game. And they were 24 yards a game ahead of the number 2 guy. And that's a pretty big spread because looking at the rest of it, they were all kind of grouped together.
So
Boulder averaged 244 yards a game. Ouch. Go ahead. Hold on. Let me. Right, go ahead.
Okay. I was just saying they were even on turnover. They had an extra interception and they lost an extra fumble.
So all right. Who's the quarterback for Jersey?
That's Dave Craig.
And who are the running backs?
Walter Payton James Wilder, and Dennis Gentry. All
Okay.
picked up the majority of the carries, as you can imagine.
I would hope so. Now, let's see. This team, Jersey, actually was only, even with Walter Payton, was only number 9 in the league in running the ball in terms of yards per game, 125 yards a game rushing, with only a 4.1 average. Now, even though it's 1983 and people guessed run more, it looks like the league was still averaging about 4.6 yards a carry or so, which is still better than, which is still more realistic than the modern leagues. It's easier to call run more when there's no dump off. No, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, I don't know, whatever. The running games are stronger back here. It seems like you need to call run a little more, so guys probably did call run a little more. Now, Jersey had the number 1 pass offense. You say he's got Dave Krieg and Walter Payton. Now, why does he have the number 1 pass offense? Defenses are probably looking to stop Payton more than the Dave Krieg-led passing game, and Jersey Joe came through in the air. I mean, he completed 61% of his passes. That is the number 2 mark in the league. But that other team was San Francisco. David Pachter had a 64.4 with Joe Montana. But Jersey Joe and Dave Krieg averaging a full yard per attempt more than the West Coast stylings of Joe Montana.
This 1983 Dave Krieg card has very good flat pass. His best flat pass card of his career. So that's why his completion percentage is so good, because as you're trying to stop the run, he's throwing flats and killing you.
Yeah, but I don't think he's averaging 8.2 yards an attempt with 30 passing touchdowns, just throwing flat passes.
No, he's got Roy Green, Pat Tilley, and the Cardinals receivers with Jimmy Giles as their tight end. So yeah, he's doing down the field throwing.
Yeah, so he's so he, like any good coach, he's probably mixing it up.
Yep.
Throwing flat, throwing down the field, running the ball. So his offense had a 90. I mean, his offense had the best passing attack in the league, which naturally, when Barkowski and Fausto go 1 and 2, it's Dave Krieg that's going to shine. But Krieg led the league as an offense. Now, not just as Krieg, but as an offense, because that's what I have. I have the team stats, not the individual stats. He led the league with 3,400 yards passing, second in the league with a 61% completed, first in the league with a 98.3 team passer rating, first in the league with 30 touchdown passes. These are all very, very, very healthy numbers. Only allowed 22 sacks, which was the second best mark in the league behind Escondido, who threw like 100 fewer passes. Okay, so all signs pointing positively there for Jersey Joe's passing game. Now, defensively, the Rebels, I guess New Jersey is known for being rebellious, but anyway, the Rebels are number 6 in the league in team defense at 290 yards a game. And this is definitely a less offensive error and a less offensive rule set. Look at all these. I mean, half the league averaged less than 300 yards a game allowed, including Southern California at 238. Team run defense for Jersey, this is always interesting. Last in the league, gave up 160 yards a game. And look at this: the last 2 teams in the league in run defense, Escondido and Jersey, and they were the 2 teams with the bye. So you might want to. So there's 2 ways to look at that. Number 1, we could say, it is more important to stop the pass. Number 2, we could say they were winning a lot of games, so maybe the other guy was trying to run late and they were letting him run. But either way, the 2 teams. Well, but conversely, the 2 teams that were best in the league at stopping the run, they did not make the playoffs, including Boulder. They're both 7-7. Okay, the 2 teams that were best in the league at stopping the run did not make the playoffs. The 2 teams that were worst in the league at stopping the run got the byes at 10-4. So interesting. I read somewhere that historically in the NFL, passing your ability to stop the pass correlates more to winning than your ability to stop the run, even in what we perceive as run-oriented errors. Which makes sense, just because the pass that you get, the more yards are available passing. Even in run-oriented errors, I believe more yards were gained through the pass. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to look at that historically. But anyway, in strat, there's a lot more to look at, because in the NFL, when you're down 13 with 9 minutes to go, you don't start running the ball because the defense is guessing pass. So, whereas in the strat you do. So it's hard to interpret some of these numbers, but the bottom line is that the 2 worst run defenses in the league got byes, and the 2 best ones didn't even make the playoffs.
Right.
So, now, pass defense, there you go. Jersey's number 1 in the league. They allowed 129.5 yards a game passing. Come on now. 18 touchdowns 12 interceptions, it looks like. Is that opponent's passing interceptions? Yes. So
Yep.
not a high interception number, but 45.8 allowed. He had 40 sacks. Now, there were two teams in the league that really teed off on the quarterback. I had 64 sacks in 14 games to lead the league. Paul was behind me with 62. No one else had more than 50, and both of our teams made the playoffs. Now, again, if you're winning more games, you can pass rush more often late. You might pick up some cheap sacks, so who knows? Again, you can't always go beyond. You can't always rely upon the numbers, like you said, Dennis. Sometimes stats are for losers. But Jersey and SoCo, the only two teams to allow under 50% completed, which I find interesting for this era. You would have thought there would be fewer complete passes. Interesting. Now we look at your team, and you were number one in rushing offense, 168 yards a game with a healthy 4.6 average. You were very patient with the running attack. You were 13th in the league in passing yards per game, and even your rating wasn't that good at 66.2, which surprised me. But you did only throw 13 interceptions. You completed 40% of your passes with Joe Theismann. You were, I guess, bombing away on the play action. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, pretty much.
Yes.
I like to do the run and bomb kind of thing.
Sure. Run. Fake a pass. Run, then pass. Okay.
Bomb.
Exactly.
That's the plan, Joe.
But overall in offense, that worked for you. Number 5 overall in offense, and I mentioned you were up there in scoring, so that worked fine. Defensive side of the ball, you were number 2 in the entire league defensively. What was your turnover situation? You were big in turnover. I think you were like plus 13, maybe.
Something crazy. That's the only reason why I had such a good season. I didn't add it up real quick, but here I had the interceptions were even for me, but the fumbles. I only lost 4 fumbles, but my opponents lost 15, so I was plus 11 on the year.
But like you told me during or after a game of the night, like you told me, you really kind of prioritized being a low turnover this year with your drafting, and also you had good pass defense cards. You're going to get more interceptions, so that worked out as you planned. So that wasn't just a coincidence. Now
you can't count on that in a single game tournament like the playoffs. So we'll see if it
playoffs. Talking about
playoffs.
That's true, but it's still nice to have. You were number 5 in the league in rushing defense. Interesting. You gave up only 115 yards a game, but you gave up a 4.7 average. So maybe guys should have run the ball at you a little more patiently.
Right.
Then against the pass, you were number 3 in the league at 130. This is crazy. This must be net yards. This has to be including the sacks, because we can't have the entire league averaging less than 200 yards a game. I'm not sure, but I'm assuming this is net. I'm not sure, but anyway. Let me see. Yes, this is. My math. This looks like it's net. Okay, so you were number 3 in the league in net passing yards allowed, 138.4 a game. You allowed 55% completed to about 2,300 yards, 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. The 71 rating is not awful. You had 48 sacks, though. So, your defense looks like it was kind of outperformed the numbers in terms of points allowed. And also, guys didn't run on you enough. And maybe you came up with a lot of key stops. So, interesting to me. Let's try and take a look at the personnel here, which is more important before I give, because it's almost time for the game, isn't it? Was 7:15?
Yes.
So I blew it again. Okay.
Joe just instant messaged me saying he could start early if I wanted to, but I told him I'm finishing up with you.
Okay. Look at the Jersey Rebel attack here. Offensive line is pretty shaky. Might want to play that 3 at left guard. You play 3-4, Dennis?
No, 4-3.
Well, you don't want a 0. You don't want a 0 anywhere, even blocking back. The zeros, they get eaten alive in the pass rushing chart. You got Dave Krieg at quarterback. This is an interesting offense. I remember playing. I remember playing this team. As Dave Krieg's card is pretty good. Yeah. I mean, he's got interceptions on 10, but the completions are there, and he's getting play action because of Peyton, which you understand. Where Green's got a great card, but that offense can sputter. That offense can be stopped. I mean, the guy was 10-4 and had a really good year. So now he plays a 3-4, average against the run, good against the pass. Maybe what we'll do, Dennis, is we'll just talk about Jersey and Seattle, and then maybe after the game we could pop on for a quick San Francisco Escondido preview, which is the only game we have to do. What do you think?
Sounds great.
All right. Give the listeners a reason to tune in later on.
There you go.
The cliffhanger.
What a fast forward.
What will Dennis and Tom say about San Francisco Escondido? Now I have to find out. Defensively, this team was a 3-4. Now, Dennis, I'm again confused. Why is the 0-12-9 left end listed number 1 in the depth chart? I thought the 4-4 was better. Wasn't he the one that counts towards the defense?
Yes, you're just trying to make it funny, aren't you? That's the way Joe played.
By the way, before the season, we had this controversy about who should count towards your defense, and you said that all of the draft leagues do it, where the guy with the best rating counts your defense. That is not the way that AutoWin does it. AutoWin has. We received an email from Larry, and I think it's even in the Constitution, or Larry or Paul, whoever. And it believes in the Constitution that the players you list as your starters are expected to play the majority of the snaps, and that you will get in trouble if they do not. So AutoWin do not do it the way that the cheating way that you had us do it here in the summer sprint this year. I have to look at the Constitution of the email, but take my word for it, we at least got an email about that.
This is not the cheating way. This is the lazy way. This is the way the commissioner doesn't have to do any checking. All I need to do is just let it ride. You give me your starters. I verify those. I give you your defensive cards, and then you play whoever you want without me auditing it. Hey, Joe's joined us. Say hi to Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Jersey Joe.
How you doing? I don't know. Does this work? I have no idea.
It does work.
I mean, you hear my voice?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you, Joe. And you have the webcam positioned perfectly, just like I do. Basically, you want from the nose up is how we go with the webcam positioning. So that's how double chins. Yeah. Exactly. That's a good reason to hide it. So basically, Dennis, we have the two cheating run defenses in the semifinal at 10-4. Is that what you're telling me? While the rest of us tried to play it honestly. You guys take these 4s and put them on the bench, okay?
Love those 0-12-9s.
Exactly. So I was just talking about your defense there, Joe. As we're doing a little prep, a little preview for the game, and then later on after the game, we'll do a San Francisco Escondido preview. But I'm looking at your defense now. So you got 0-5-5 the defensive line. You got that rated linebacker core 6-5-4-6. You got a 5-0. No, you got a 6-0 at corner. 6-5 and safety, but that 6-0 doesn't work too badly because you can double team the hell out of that right corner, and the guys actually get scared to throw to him, and then they're kind of playing into your hands. And you've got some good pass rushing on the bench with a right end 0-11, nose tackle 4-8. The starter's a 5-8. He's not going to see the field. Okay, and we know Dennis likes to run sometimes at 3rd and 5 or more, so that'll be interesting to watch. Okay, averaging good, and then looking at the opponent returns. Not a big fan of Paul Skansky there. You can do a little bit. Kick returning is dreadful. Punter is ordinary, but most of them are good touchbacks on the kicker there, it looks like. Let's see. Opponent kick returns are okay. Opponent punt returns are not good. 16-9 long gain. Dennis has Henry Ellard, so watch for that. Field goals 2-10, 2-10, 2-8 and 12, 6 and 12. Morton Anderson was a young player this time. I think still finding himself because you can see him. He was because by the mid 80s he was like 2-10. Out to the 32, and then 2-6, 11, and 12, which back then was about as good as you could get on the long field goals. But in this game, Morton might be a little shaky. Morton may hear a who if his name is called. Now let's see what Seattle is doing as we're going to get ready for the kickoff. You guys feel free to exchange your IPs and get going. Maybe I'll just morph this into the game broadcast, Dennis, or should I close this down and then do the game broadcast?
I think you should close it and do another one because...
I think you're right, Dennis, except that I wasn't able to set up one earlier, but I'll try. So.
Okay.
Wait. Aren't you supposed to be giving me all of Dennis's secrets before we go off of this?
Yeah, I'm going to go over the Shuriken right now. I'm going to tell you how to score 3 points against him like I did the other night.
I think that's all I got last time against him.
Well, okay, well, at least
three at a time.
I scored 3, period. So I scored 3 one time, not even 3 at a time, so it didn't work out too well. But let's see, Seattle Shuriken. This team is overrated. They're not going to go anywhere. No, I'm just teasing. Okay, nice interior blocking 5-5-5s. You get decent pass blocking a 7. Let's face it, nobody in this set can really pass block great. There's a couple of lines that are real good, but otherwise you're going to be under duress at times because there's so much pass rush out there.
Right.
Theismann had one of the better quarterback cards. I think it was certainly a top 5 card. Maybe even the clear-cut number 3 card after Fouts and Barkowski, don't recall, got real nice end running, got a great must-run card. only okay flat pass, good enough if you're going to get wrong. The short pass wrong is not exciting. The short pass right is pretty good because those must runs giving you extra yardage, so extra double teams can help. I don't know. The Theismann card is not that great with the completions as I'd like, but Dennis has done well with it as low turnover. Earl Campbell has a kind of an ordinary card. Frank Hawkins is pretty decent, but Campbell can get positive yardage. Stanley Morgan is excellent and maxed out. Todd Christensen is maxed out short pass. Can go deep. Steven Starring drops everything inside, as we saw the other night. But he has a. He's like, Steven Starring. You kept hitting his receiver card. He was like 0 for 6 on his receiving card.
I know.
Especially short pass right, but if he hits it, it's going to go a long way. So. The ball just has a tendency to bounce off his chest. That's the unfortunate problem.
Right.
4-3 defense goes 4-4-6-5. The cheating defensive line. All kinds of monster pass rush. They have the 2-12s on the defensive line. So I thought that I could attack you by, if I'm throwing looking passes or passes to my fullback, an occasional flat at Ricky Jackson so that he can't come up every time, and trying to attack some of those fours on your left side. Also, you got to worry about your fours in the secondary. So. You did a great job coaching this defense because they're good against the run, good against the pass. But with corner fours and only one linebacker 6 on the outside on a 4-3, and the 2 fours on the defensive line, it's an offense. Sorry, it's a defense that people, I think, should be able to attack, and I thought I could attack it. And the bottom line is you led the league in points scored, and I only scored 3 points against you. So that didn't work out too well for me. We'll see what happens. But I didn't have Walter Payton, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
remember, Joe, if you
definitely have their holes. Just like we said before, every team's got their vulnerabilities. That defense has got those fours that you can shoot at.
Now, remember, Joe, if you make the Super Bowl, Walter Payton is not supposed to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Remember that.
I won't let him.
Hand it off to the offensive lineman. Look at the special teams. Henry Ellen's a very good punt returner, 3 touchdown, 622 yards, 911. He's a mediocre kick returner. Punter was all right, but he's got a block on 12. Touchbacks are a little low. They got a couple against me. Opponent kick returns are okay. Opponent punt returns are excellent. So Dennis should have a punt advantage if there's a lot of punting in the game in terms of field position. The field goal kicker is very weird. He's 2-8, 11, and 12 everywhere, literally from the 1 to the 32. McLuckhurst is an extra point or a 40-yard attempt. It doesn't matter. Should say a 47-yard attempt. He's 2-8, 11, and 12, and he can't hit the deep ones. It's only 2 to 10 and 12 with the extra point. Watch out for that. Now let's face it. I don't think either one of you guys is too confident in your kicker on a long late field goal to win the game. So we'll see what happens there. So I guess it's time for prediction time, and I got both coaches on here, so the pressure is on. I'm going to go with. See, I feel like Krieg has got to throw at least 1 pick. I'm pretty sure about that.
Krieg. Good, Craig.
Craig. I've been trying to.
I know. I saw that.
By saying Craig, but it's spelled like Krieg, but it's pronounced like Jim Craig, the goalie for the USA hockey team.
Yeah, well, you see, I know a little German, so I can't help but I see the spelling, and I give a German pronunciation, so that's where that comes from. Hard to go against Dennis because he's a real good coach and he does so well in these games. I hate your offense, Dennis. I hate that Joe Theismann or Campbell combination with Steven Starring at one receiver spot, so I don't have to worry about him. And he's coming by a 6 this game, so I'm gonna go with Jersey. I'm gonna go with the East Coast guy. I'm gonna go with the Rebels.
Oh no!
I'm gonna pick. A strange score. It's gonna be 21-19 Jersey. But I think it should be a close game either way. I'd be surprised if somebody won by more than 10 points, unless they got a late, 73-yard return for a touchdown or something. I'm gonna go 21-19 Jersey. Joe was playing well all season long. Played well from the beginning. His team was rested. He's got Walter Payton. How do I go against Walter Payton? My brother's a huge Walter Payton fan, so I don't want to do that. Regular season was 16-13 Jersey. That was a close one. Now, Dennis, you said you picked my team because you beat me so handily in the regular season. So I guess because of that, you figure that you probably lose to Joe again, right?
Right. The game was very close, but Joe did beat
overtime.
Me. I think. Pull up that box score. Let's look at that if you can.
Okay.
I think he had a long touchdown pass or something happened there.
We had Morton Anderson kick the game-time field goal. with 45 seconds left to send the game into overtime for Jersey.
Oh yeah, now I remember.
We had
That was a good game. It was just a tight defensive battle. You might see that again today.
we had a Dave Craig. I'm going to call him Craig the broadcast. Sounds like you're used to it. We had a Dave Craig fumble early in the contest. I think he's the all-time NFL leader in fumbles or something like that at one point.
Yeah, go figure.
We had a Mick Luckhurst missed field goal. We had a couple of bombs to Christensen and Kenny King. We had a couple of sacks, only 4 sacks total. Mick Luckhurst was 2 for 3 on field goals. Morton Anderson 3 for 4 on field goals. That was the difference, actually. Dave Craig, 19 of 32, 183, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Joe Theismann, 5 of 17, 133, 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
Dennis, that's like your line from the last game.
To check this out, so he had a 0-3 turnover disadvantage, and he still beat me. So that's why I felt like he overwhelmed me, because even with 3 lucky breaks, I still couldn't pull off the victory.
And you only outgained him by 34 yards from scrimmage. I mean, you outgain a guy and you go +3 on turnovers. You expect to win. Now you missed a field goal, which almost makes it like 2 turnovers basically. So I wonder what was going on there. The kick returning looks even. I'm looking for a big play somewhere on special teams for the offset, but I guess not. I guess maybe Joe had a few lengthy drives and otherwise didn't move it too well.
Yeah, Craig was great in this game. 19 of 32 in this era is fantastic, and he did great on third downs.
And like you said, football, you can't go by the stats really. Every game plays out differently. So,
all right. A lot of my turnovers were deep territory turnovers too, which didn't help.
No, and they usually don't help when they're deep in your own territory either. So no matter what, deep territory turnovers usually going to hurt
turnovers though. So I don't know. I always think he's got the game rigged.
I see.
Did I got the game rigged? I like it. Yeah. Thinking that way. That's what people used to think about NFL Ed. That he was like somehow manipulating the roles to be perfectly for him, come out perfect for him. But it's just coaching.
So Dennis, do you want to give a prediction since you are my co-host?
I predict a nice close game like this. I'm hoping I can stay close with the mighty Jersey Rebels, and I hope the authority the man can come through against the Rebels.
Now, Joe, are you?
I'm looking for dice. I need dice.
Joe, are you in the SSFA? No.
No. Which one is that?
Are you familiar with SSFA?
Dennis, is that the one I was going to sub for, but I really never did? Is that similar to SFDFL?
It's either, Ed's leagues, NFL Ed has SOMIFA.
Oh, yeah, I'm SOMIFA. I'm in SOMIFA.
All right, so SSFA is a spring version of SOMIFA, basically. And it's a spring equivalent of SOMIFA. So anyway,
Joe's in SOMSPA. He's in
SOMSPA, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So it's exactly like that, but it's a different group of guys, or some of them are different.
So we do a show on the SSFA postseason playoff preview, okay? And my team had a pretty good team. I'm in the playoffs. And Dennis insisted that I make a prediction of my team. And yet here he is waffling, not providing a prediction, saying, I hope it's a good, close game. So, Dennis, how come it's good for the goose but not good for the gander? Why am I put on the spot to make a prediction of my Jets? And I made a prediction, and then you will get away without a prediction. Dennis, who do you predict for this game coming up here momentarily between the Jersey Rebels and the Seattle Shuriken?
Okay, my prediction is 16.78 Jersey, 17.01 Seattle. We're going to go into the 100th place.
Okay, so you got Seattle 17-16 victors over the Jersey Rebels. So he picked himself.
Dennis is going to have more yardage than me, and I'm just hoping that somehow I can have more points than him. So,
all right, guys. So that's going to be our show. A very brief season review, playoff preview. We would have liked to get into greater depth, but I got bogged down probably talking about something mindless for 20 minutes, and that's what happened. We are going to preview the San Francisco Escondido semifinal probably later tonight, probably right after the Jersey-Seattle game. We're going to close off this show right now, and then these guys are going to get connected, and I'm going to start the broadcast for the other game. So look for that in a few minutes, and this is Tom signing off. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah.